It's been nearly 20 years since we first set foot on the cobbled streets of Rogueport, the hub town of GameCube favorite Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door, and back in 2004, the seedy streets of the criminal town felt like nothing else in a Mario game. Suspicious characters roam the streets, puddles on the pavement, and cracked windows add a slice of decoration. To those who have played Thousand Year Door, Rogueport became a character in its own right and served as a platform for an exciting adventure. 20 years later though, we feel exactly the same stepping into Rogueport on the Switch version of Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door. This place still feels entirely unique, not just in Paper Mario canon, but in all Mario adventures. That sense of unease, excitement, and wonder sets the stage for Mario's most beloved RPG adventure. We've gotten the chance to play through the prologue and the first 3 chapters of the Switch version, and it's been a joy revisiting this classic. First off, let's talk about just what Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door on Switch is. While it's being marketed as a remake, it certainly sits between both this and a remaster. This is, by and large, a hugely faithful recreation of the 2004 paper-crafted adventure. Dialogue is largely the same, save for 1 or 2 instances of tweaking the text to better match the Japanese original, and the visuals have reached a significant upgrade. But from what we can tell, this is the very same adventure we went on back in 2004, and that's absolutely not a bad thing. Thousand Year Door has its reputation of being the best Paper Mario game for a reason, and so far, this revisit had us nodding our heads in agreement with that statement all over again. Focusing on the visuals, Thousand Year Door has received a huge glow up. The arts and crafts paper aesthetic from the GameCube version is all intact, but the Switch version adds tons more detail to environments. Cobblestones of Rogueport are much more defined, meaning that the dirty puddles of water are more visible. Little flecks of green in combat backgrounds now have trees or bushes dotted around them, and the foliage of the trees is more defined and colorful. Overall, the Switch version also uses brighter colors and is less washed out than the GameCube version. Don't worry, Rogueport still feels like the dingy, seedy town that it is, but the burst of color throughout the game really enhanced the storybook style that all the Paper Mario games are going for. This is helped doubtly by the improved lighting throughout the game. Wandering through Hooktail Castle, the first major dungeon of Thousand Year Door, the soft bloom of the light glowing through the windows really helped enhance the menacing feel of the castle. It also made the dungeon look darker and thus helped those darker shades of grey pop. We can say the same thing about Bockley Woods, a beautiful, eerie forest with white foliage and multicolored flooring. The way the light cracks through the trees makes the floor almost glow, and it makes you feel like you're walking across a sparkly, leafy rainbow. It's lovely and it looks amazing both on the TV and in handheld mode. And the game runs perfectly in both formats too, at least from the 15 or so hours we've played. We've not noticed a single frame drop both docked and undocked. However, one downside from the GameCube version is that the Switch version only runs at 30 FPS compared to the GameCube's native 60. At first, this took us a moment to adjust to, particularly in combat where you have to time button presses. Our brains somehow remember the timing of the original release, but overall the reduced frame rate hasn't been detrimental to the experience for us. This is still Thousand Year Door in all its glory, at least from what we've played. That goes right down to the combat, which is similar to Super Mario RPG's turn-based action command system and an evolution of the original Paper Mario's combat. Mario and one other partner can take part in a battle, and you have multiple options such as attacking by jumping or using a hammer for Mario, magical special moves that range from healing your party to time some A button presses for massive damage, and appealing to the crowd. The last one is important as every single battle takes place on a theater stage, so timing your attacks, appealing to the crowd, and even accepting gifts and ejecting audience members all play into your battle strategies. The bigger your crowd and more successful your timing is, the more star power used for special moves is acquired. Presentation-wise, it's a fun idea, but the fact that the audience plays such a huge part in the mechanics is delightful. And the stage props themselves also interact with the combat. For example, if you do a very heavy hammer attack, some of the background props will actually fall onto the enemies or yourself, so do have that guard ready. A few new features have been added to the Switch version of the Thousand Year Door to help ease new players into the experience. These are particularly helpful if you've never played a Paper Mario game before. A new NPC called the Battle Master hangs out in Rogueport and helps teach you how to master action commands in battle. Tapping ZL anywhere in the field will prompt one of your companions to give you a hint on what to do next. The Trouble Center, home to the game's side quest, returns, but if you're struggling, you can pay an NPC to give you hints on how to proceed. Plus, these hints will be locked in your journal, which can be found in the menu. The fortune teller who gives you hints on where to track down the game's collectibles isn't a new NPC, but her hints are now also logged in the journal too. One thing to note, however, is that there aren't any difficulty modes, but from what we can remember, the game's tuning feels about the same as it did on GameCube, meaning that it's not significantly easier a la Super Mario RPG. Small conveniences are the name of the game here, but two pretty considerable additions make the game a little less frictional. First up is the partner wheel, which allows you to instantly swap between partners outside of battle at the touch of a button. This is extremely useful and saves a lot of flipping through menus, as each partner has a field skill that you'll need to navigate the world. Koops, the anxious and shy Koopa who wants to save his father, can grab items from afar by getting inside his shell and being launched forward. And Goombella can tell you a little bit of info about the NPCs roaming in the overworld. The puzzle element of exploration in Thousand Year Door, the original Paper Mario, is intact here, and more fun than ever thanks to the partner wheel. But Mario also gets some additional skills as you adventure through the world. Early on, Mario gets cursed by a strange black treasure chest, which allows him to turn into a paper airplane and fly across large gaps. Later on, he can also flip to allow him to shimmy through thin gaps. Gaining these new skills gradually encourages exploration and backtracking and makes discovering the world of Thousand Year Door absolutely delightful. Speaking of backtracking, this is arguably the biggest weakness of the original GameCube game. That's still the case in story chapters, looking at you chapter 2 in particular, but sooner rather than later you'll get access to a warp pipe room which allows you to fast travel back to other towns. Yes, this existed in the GameCube version, but it's been tweaked heavily for the Switch release. No longer do you need to break huge blocks to access pipes, nor do you need to remember which pipe goes where. Each blue pipe is labeled with a number corresponding to the chapter you visited that town in, meaning you can easily get back to Paddleberg or the Great Tree by simply following the numbers. It might take a minute to unlock, but it makes those Trouble Center requests much easier to complete. Oh, and you can also access this pipe warp room straight from Rogueport rather than going through the sewers each time. There's plenty more hiding in the pages of Paper Mario the Thousand Year Door on Switch, and we'll save them for our final verdict, but the first few chapters of the game have reminded us of why we loved the original back in 2004. It's just as funny as we remember, with excellent writing and an actually interesting story that goes beyond Mario series tropes, often actually making fun of them. Peach and Bowser still have their own playable sections, with the former teaching a robot about the concept of love, while the latter tries to save Princess Peach because he's the only one who's allowed to kidnap her. Thousand Year Door is stupid fun and sometimes even a little bit heartbreaking, and we can't wait to rediscover the rest of this absolutely amazing RPG.